the Jets offseason has been amazing so far, for Jets fans at least. It's been a whirlwind of emotions for multiple reasons, but at the end of the day, the Jets made out great in this offseason. The goal was to put any pieces they could find to build around Sam Darnold and to build around what they already have on the defensive side of the ball and even expand the defensive side of the ball somehow. They first started, one of the first big moves they made starting off was trading for Kaleke Osemele from the Raiders. They got Kaleke Osemele, a 6th-round pick for just 1 5th-round pick. Nothing else. Just a 5th-round pick to get who 2 years ago was an all-pro guard. And because of injury last year, didn't get to play as much. It's a little bit of a cap hit at 12 and it was about a little bit of a cap hit at about $12.5 million. But then again, the Jets also they didn't mind it because they have the cap space to actually make moves like that. But I mean, last year the offensive line was just atrocious. Thankfully, they can bring in an experienced veteran guard who is good at the position. He was all pro level. Then they realized that Sam Darnold, even though he might be starting to get a line, he really needs some more receiving threats. So they go out and they get Jamison Crowder for a 3-year, $28.5 million contract, $17 million guaranteed. But then again, you're still getting an experienced NFL veteran wideout who catches the ball, great, and can put up receiving yards, touchdowns, and he could do this all while being quiet. He doesn't have to be the number one receiver and can still make a big difference on that team next year. Then, as most people know by now, Anthony Barr agreed to sign with the Jets originally, then went back on his offer and decided that the Vikings were just the better team for him, which it hurt. Obviously, losing a guy of Anthony Barr's caliber, it's obviously something. It's obviously someone you're gonna want to sign. He was like the number 1 linebacker in free agency. But then again, the Jets made out with the number 2 linebacker in free agency, C.J. Mosley, who's arguably just as good as Barr, if not just a little bit, like a tad bit worse. But he's more of the all-around player, can do more than Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr was more or less, he could really only play man-to-man. He wasn't really a zone cover kind of guy. He couldn't really do zones at all. He had to be up at the line most of the time. So C.J. Mosley will at least be able to maybe stretch out and get some tight ends, like especially since the Jets are in the same division as the Patriots and will be playing Gronk twice a year. You're going to need a guy who's going to be able to actually move around and attempt to play defense on Gronk. Then they signed Josh Bellamy. He's a great special teams person. 2-year, $5 million, low risk deal. They can cut him right after the first year if it doesn't work out, but still, you're getting a great special teams guy for just $5 million. We could take the hit, no problem. Then we made the move that everybody has been waiting for, the decision everybody's been waiting for from Le'Veon Bell. When Le'Veon Bell chose to sign with the Jets for 4 years, $52.5 million, with 61.5 million of it after incentives. People realized that he did take a pay cut from the Steelers, what the Steelers offered him. But the difference was that the Jets offered him more money guaranteed. So just because there's more money in the contract from the Steelers, it doesn't mean it was the better deal. With this, he's guaranteed $30 million. So even if he doesn't pan out, the Jets are still going to have to shell out $30 million, and he'll take a $20 million loss rather than, I don't know how much was guaranteed in the Steelers contract, but it would have been a lot less. And if it didn't work out, then it doesn't matter how big the contract was. He wouldn't have got most of that money. But that right there was a huge move for the Jets as they added a guy who's an all-around playmaker. He's an all-around playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. He can go out, he can receive, he can run the ball. He can evade tacklers in multiple ways. He's strong, He's a smart running back. He's very patient. That was the number one thing that everyone always raves about is his patience on the line. He's not just your average big running back that just tries to power his way through these giant D linemen. He's the guy who sits there, stops his feet for a second and says, let me find the hole. Let me find the biggest hole. Let me find the biggest weakness, and let me exploit that. And let me exploit that right now. And he gets yards. He has amazing yards per run average every year. It's always a high average. It's always high for him. It's mostly just because of the patience and also yards per catch too. For a running back, he's basically a combo running back wide receiver. If you were to put him on the outside, line him up on the outside, teams would take him serious. He's not a joke. He's not a joke out there. Teams are actually going to have to think, Le'Veon can actually make a play right now. We need to stop him right now. So that's great. And right now, after that, the Jets are looking at the third pick in the draft as well. The third pick in the draft that can go many ways depending on how it goes. It could go where the Cardinals take hopefully Kyler Murray. If that happens, maybe the 49ers pass up on Nick Bosa, but might not happen. But the Jets could be looking at a possibility of selecting Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, and Josh Allen at the third pick. And any of those three guys can be a huge playmaker on that line. That Leonard Williams suffered a little bit last year just because of the fact that he lost a lot of help on that line, so teams were easily able to pick him up. Teams were easily able to just focus on him rather than when he started playing and he had Muhammad Wilkerson, who even though he wasn't great, it was still Muhammad Wilkerson, and if you didn't give him the attention he deserved, he would have got some sacks on you. But you line up any of those three guys near Leonard Williams, and teams are going to have problems. Because not only are you going to, in past years, it's been the Jets offense has been looked at as more or less a joke. I mean, we've had Mark Sanchez at the helms. We've had Geno Smith. Nobody's taking these guys serious. But Sam Darnold, a rookie, he wasn't the best rookie, but he wasn't terrible in his rookie year. So it can only go up from here. You line that up with Le'Veon Bell, Jamison Crowder, Quincy Enunwa, and Andre Roberson on the outside. Teams are going to have to start paying attention to this offense while also paying attention to this defensive core led by Jamal Adams, C.J. Mosley, Leonard Williams, whoever this third pick could be. It could be up in the air right now, but hopefully Nick Bosa. If they get Nick Bosa and Nick Bosa joins that defensive core, that has the opportunity. They have the opportunity to become the number one defense in the NFL. Because already you have two good safeties right now. You have two good safeties in Jamal Adams and Claiborne. You got a linebacker core that includes Mosley. There's that one kid who just came out this year, the 6th rounder. I can't remember his name right now. But he looked really good this year. And that line because they're going to draft they're going to draft somebody for the line at the third pick if they don't trade down. But you grab one of them, and then in the third round, it's looking like they're going to go for the O-line. But right now, we need a center bet. That's the one position that I feel we need the most is the center position. Last year, watching those games, I can't tell you how many botched snaps there were that cost Sam Darnold precious seconds in a game in which that line couldn't block. The line could not block anything, any game, and they have the center over here who's botching snaps, and he's losing time for Sam Darnold, which is why Sam Darnold had very little time to get off that ball. And if he wanted to go deep, it was very hard. It took a miracle and a half to get that line to block for more than 3 seconds. So we really couldn't judge how Sam Darnold was throwing his long balls because, half of his long balls that he threw were pressured. But altogether, this free agency class, right now we need to get some O-linemen one way or another through the draft, through whatever's left in free agency. We just need to build a little bit of an O-line. And right now we just maybe we can see if we can get another veteran receiver who can go out there and help out that receiving core. And I think we'll have a fine season this year. I think like people are obviously like, Jets fans are hyping it up like it's gonna be like it's the greatest thing that ever happened. Like they're actually gonna go far in the playoffs. Like it's not gonna happen. We're next season might actually be looking like the start of a turnaround in which we can start to look like a team, like one of the best teams in the league eventually. And right now, the best team in New York, most likely by far, after the Giants traded OBJ. So pretty sure everyone knows about it at this point. If you don't know about it, you're living under a rock. But I mean, hopefully we'll get to see that Jets defense and that Browns offense play each other in the playoffs, because that would be watching that young core of like Jamal Adams, Leonard Williams, and another young defensive player go up against Baker Mayfield, OBJ, Jarvis, Nick Chubb. Watching them play against them, that will be a fun game to watch from both sides. So altogether, the Jets, if I were to grade their offseason moves, I would put it more or less at an A- altogether. We did good, but there were some things we lost out on, like Jason Myers. We lost out on Andre Roberts for pennies. He signed a 2-year, $5 million with the Bears. And, I mean, the Jets, with their cap space, they could have easily blew that offer out of the water. Why they didn't choose to bring back their best special teams player last year, their Pro Bowl special teams player last year, it blows my mind, but still. As long as we still have these pieces, we still got Le'Veon, we still got C.J. Mosley, we still got Osemele, we still got Jamison Crowder. Those are the big 4 names that we signed this year in this year's offseason.